Hello and welcome to part 2 of the submarine tutorial set, the Pixar style submarine. When last I left you, we had just gone in and created the basic body or head or whatever you want to call this part, and the propeller and the fins and rudders and such. So now we're going to get in and start working on the eye area, the place that would have the eyes. So, going to Shift A, going to add in a cube. Way back there where the 3D cursor was, so we'll just move that into place here, and we'll go ahead and tab into edit mode and go ahead and add a loop there in the middle so we can get rid of half of it and add in a mirror modifier there. Good to go. So we'll just go ahead and move this up a little bit, then Control L, select all of it, move it down to where it's actually touching the submarine body. Just move this in until that starts coming in around. My microphone cord is in the way of my buttons. Okay, so just move this in. So maybe add in a loop here so we can get a nice curve coming in. Maybe another loop back here. Okay, let's add in a loop down there, and let's grab this top area, the whole top area there. Hit the C button to bring up the selection. I call it the selection painter. So kind of just click and drag over what it is you're wanting to select, and then go ahead and turn clipping on there so we can move this in without messing up the middle area. Okay, kind of get an idea what this is starting to look like there. Let's make this area a little bigger. I'm used to working full screen, so this 720p screencast here is a little smaller than I'm used to. Let's just kind of give this a nice ramped, tapered look to it here. Round that out a little. Maybe bring this in just a bit. Like so. You can kind of do this however you like. It's your submarine. You do it how you like. This is how I'm doing it. So bring the top edge in. Just go to our top view. There we go. Hitting the 4 button instead of the 7 button. 7 key. Okay, so I'd like the eyes to kind of come not quite in 180 degrees, but quite a bit further than just a flat surface. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of skew this viewport area out about like so. And let's go ahead and add in a loop in here so we can make it nice and rounded. Like so. Maybe nice and rounded on the back end as well. And then let's round the top of it off. So it's more of a dome than a indentation. Actually, just grab this area here for that, I guess. And this guy. And maybe grab, there we go. Okay, so we're getting there. Got another loop around the middle, kind of skinny it up there in the middle, except for the front. Scale that down just a bit. Let's go to our side view so we can see what we're doing a little better here. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Let's add in a subdivision surface over here so it smooths it up nicely. It's looking a little too tall for me, so let's grab the top of it, bring that down. Maybe grab that and bring that down as well. Okay, that's looking a little better. Okay, and again, it's faceted just like the body was when we first started working with that. So go ahead and hit smooth for the smooth shading. And we'll need to come in here and tell you what let's do here on the bottom. Let's just get rid of these whole faces, those old vertices there, because we're not going to use them all. We don't need them there. Never going to see them. Okay, so now I'll add another loop in here, and if we look at our little reference here, you can see I have kind of a lip around the whole bottom. I'll go ahead and probably put one around the top too, and a little sun visor type of thing. Okay, so let's select Control-Shift, or actually Control-Alt, and right-click on one of the edges there, and we'll select that whole loop around there. Let's go ahead and move that up above the surface of the body area there. There we go. I'll hit E to extrude. Just go ahead and click, say, yeah, we're done extruding. And then Alt-S we'll kind of fatten it up, but we need to turn off our proportional editing first. Disable that. Alt-S. Kind of see that kind of fattens it out, scales it on the normals rather than just in the XYZ space. So we add another loop right in here for a nice crease there. Maybe another one around the bottom of that area. There we go. Looking nice. It's kind of looking like something you'd see in a kindergarten classroom or something like that. Kindergarten. Let's go and add a loop around the top. The same thing we did there on the bottom. Just hit E and then right click and then Alt S. There we go. Move that into place and then go ahead and come in down here, add a loop right about there. And then let's separate the windshield area, or the port area, the glass area there. Let's create a loop right there. And then let's go ahead, tell you what, let's just go ahead and get rid of this windshield right here altogether for now. And that one. Okay, so we'll just get rid of that for now. Faces there. And let's select this whole loop in here now. And just extrude that in, just so we have a solid surface there, just in case our windshield doesn't meet all the way at a corner. We won't have just an empty space there. It'll be actual surface underneath it. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is go ahead and add in a separation around the lip around the top and the actual top area. So let's add in a loop around here, maybe drag that down just a bit, just so it's a nice separated area. Then maybe one more loop in there, just even sharper, like so. Okay, so we're getting there. This is kind of a weird area here. Let's fix that. Okay. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and save this. I got Submarine 02. Now the windshield. So let's go put let's select all the edges around where it's going to go. About right there. There? No. Select those, I guess. Shift S. We'll put our cursor to selected. So it puts our 3D cursor right in here. I'll tell you what. Let's do. Let's. There's one thing that Blender does, unless you tell it not to, is wherever you put your 3D cursor, like say, I want it centered up on this center blue line there. That's the center of our scene, center of our horizontal axis, the x-axis. And since I got it centered there, I'm going to go ahead and move it in here. And say I want it centered in the body. So I click right there. So it should be, you know, where it was, centered in the center of the scene. So it should be in the middle of the body, and then right there in the mouth. However, oh, okay, well, never mind. Sometimes if you don't change the user preferences, the cursor depth, it will be turned on, and it'll do like I was just saying. So you get it centered up here in the center of the scene, like, okay, so it's the middle there, right there, and then say middle of the head. So it should be like it was before, in the middle of the head, but the cursor depth is set to kind of the surface of our model there, and we don't want that at this point. So go ahead and turn that cursor depth back off. Okay, so we want our 3D cursor right there in the center of where the windshield is going to be. So about, say, right there, and then go to our wireframe view so we can see the actual center of the scene. Put that perfectly in the center. Okay, so now Shift A, and we're going to add a plane. We'll tab into edit mode, rotate that 90 degrees, select everything, rotate 90 degrees. R90. We're going to scale that down to a rectangular shape. Don't worry about it fitting the space exactly, because we're going to use a lattice deform modifier and the lattice itself to change the shape of our plane here to fit that rounded windshield area. But first we need to give it quite a few more subdivisions so it rounds out nicely. So I think I gave it 7 cuts there. So go ahead and click that in and go ahead and double click again just so it gives it the actual, or go ahead and sets them at the points we said. So just Control R and scroll your mouse wheel up, or page up, page down on your keyboard. And we'll just do 4 cuts this time. So just click, and then you can move it up and down, but we'll just go ahead and right click to get that locked out. Okay, so this will be our eyelids, or excuse me, our eye whites. So let's go ahead and name this. Come up here. Go ahead and name this one. Just name it windshield. Although, like I said before, in a submarine, it's probably not called a windshield. It's called a portal. Not exactly real up to speed on all the nautical terminology for submarines and their parts, but in any case, we'll just call that a windshield. Go ahead and name this one, I guess, submarine. I don't want to name the other parts, because, I mean, we could if you wanted to. You're going to name that top or whatever, but we'll end up merging it with the submarine later. But I don't want to do that just yet, because this still has the mirror modifier on it. And everything else, well, I guess the top probably has a mirror as well, but remember the propellers, the mirror modifier would mess up their angle. We don't want that to happen, so let's just leave it as is for now. Once I get in the teeth, you know, the rudimentary white boxes for the teeth, then we can get the mirror modifier added on there. But for now, let's focus here on the eyes. So before I add in, actually, let's go ahead and do that. I was going to go ahead and do the eyelids and things as well, but we'll go ahead and add in the lattice now. So I got my 3D cursor right there on the eyes where they need to go. Shift A, and I'm going to add in a lattice. So now we'll go to our front view. Let's scale that on the x-axis until it's just slightly wider than our windshield, and maybe go to our side view, scale that on the z-axis to where it's, I guess that's the y-axis here. So it's slightly bigger there, like that, and then we'll scale it slightly bigger. I'm doing this all in edit mode, by the way. If you do it in object mode and then apply it, it's going to make things... I say that, I'm not exactly... It's been a while since I messed with lattices, to be honest, but in any case, you can do all this in object mode, and then we can go to Object, Apply, Scale, and then you can hit Alt-S, and you see it doesn't change anything because that's now the correct scale. Okay, so now let's go over to our lattice settings here and give it a few more subdivisions here. Maybe 7 there, and then a few on the W-axis. Don't really need to worry about the V because it's a flat surface. It's not going to be deforming this way at all. Okay, so now all we have to do is tab into edit mode, and actually, before we do that, let's grab our windshield and go to our modifiers and add in under the deform set, say lattice, and then under object we say lattice. So see, since I applied that shape before, it scaled everything up, scaled the windshield up where it didn't need to go. So could undo everything, but we'll just truck on to select that windshield itself and scale it down. And I don't know if that's going to help or not. So let's transform. Or actually apply scale. Okay, that'll work. Okay, so we got that fixed. That's why I was scaling it, the lattice in object mode. So if you're going to follow along this tutorial after you've watched it already, don't apply the shape or the scale like so. Don't do that. Just leave it scaled as is. But in any case, you can fix it the way I did. So anyway, now moving forward, let's go to the lattice area there. We got this section set. So let's grab the edges of it, and we'll move it back, and you can see it is controlling the edges of the windshield as well because it's deforming it. It's a deform modifier. So we can do the same thing basically with a lattice that you can do with the regular mesh. You can turn on the proportional editing and grab one part, and it'll gradually control everything. So let's get that sized up to fit our opening for our windshield. So just select the bottom area here. I'm doing it from the side, so I'm selecting both sides at the same time because the lattice doesn't have the mirror option. I don't believe it has the option to symmetrize it either, so we have to make sure we do both sides at the same time if you want it exactly correct, which we do in this case. So get that up, make sure it goes through our area there. So move this up here out to there, move this down, move this, and just get this lined up to where our windshield is looking nice and roundy and cartoony, Pixar-y. There, front view. Go ahead and do the same thing on the sides over here. Make sure you select both sides. I'm going to try to scale them on the x-axis there. See how well that does. And that looks like it's doing pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and hide the lattice now. And you can see we need a little bit more work on there. But I'm going to grab the windshield itself and go ahead and tell it to have smooth shading. And I guess we could go ahead and give it a subdivision surface. So it's just nice and smooth. And we don't need to give it a render of 2 because 1 will be perfectly fine. So let's unhide that lattice. And let's make sure we get all edges of the windshield. There, let's select this whole edge here. Make sure we do it on both sides. Just drag that back a little bit further. Maybe scale it on the x-axis a little further. And then let's grab the whole bottom and go ahead and move that down. Grab this corner here, move that. So we get that nice corner up there and over here. Then I just did that one at a time. That's fine, this just be in the corner. Okay, so we'll go ahead and hide that lattice again, and looks like the windshield is completely filling the area it needs to go. Okay, good to go. Now, let's work on the eyelids. So I'm going to select the windshield itself, Shift D to duplicate it. See, it renamed it Windshield 001. Let's call this one Eyelids. Okay, we'll tab into Edit Mode, select everything, and move it ever so slightly forward so it's right in front of the original eye surface. And then I'm going to add in a loop here along the bottom, like so. Then I'm going to grab that whole edge there, Control Alt, and click on one of the edges, and it selects the whole thing. Extrude that out. This will be the bottom of our eyelid, kind of the lip. We won't have lids on the bottom, just on the top. I'm just going to move that up just so it has a nice central separation there. So we'll tab back out, and you can see that's how it's going to look. Let's give it a little bit more thickness there. Drag that out a little further. Let's turn off the proportional editing so it's just this edge. Add a nice cut there so it's nice and sharp. And tab out. Okay, so now we have an eyelid as well, and it's deforming exactly the same as the underlying eye. So that's really handy for giving it some nice shape keys for opening and going left and right and things like that. So let's do this. We're going to add a shape key over here to it. Make sure it's still the eyelid selected. So we hit the plus sign there, and it adds a basis for our shape keys. We'll go ahead and add another one, and we're going to call this one Lids Up. Okay. Tab into Edit Mode. And it looks really weird now, and that's because the whole shebang with the lattice and applying the shape and the scale and everything, but it'll still work for us. So let's select this very top edge here. And tell you what, let's put our 3D cursor up there so we know where it's at. The cursor is selected. There we go. And then, actually, I guess we can leave that selected. Just select this whole bottom row now, the lip there, and go ahead and turn on our proportional editing there, and just gradually drag that up on the z-axis, like so, making sure it collapses all of those vertices in between, all those edges in between, smoothly. So we hit our period button, so we're scaling around that 3D cursor there. Just drag that up about like so. Maybe we can thicken this bottom part back up because it's scaled down a little bit now. Okay, so we tab out, and if we play with that lids up, you can see they go up and down now. So it's nice, a nice little shutter effect there over the whites of the eyes. Okay, so we got them opening and closing. Now we need them to go left and right. So when he's looking left and right, that center line darts back and forth with the eyes. So go ahead and create another shape key, and let's call this one Lids L for Lids Left. We'll tab into Edit Mode. And this time, I want to select this whole edge over here. Should be just selecting just that edge. Oh, I see. Since we added that loop in there, it's selecting the whole loop. So make sure it's just that edge. So let's just do this. There we go. I'm going to hide those because I don't want them moving. I want them to stay put right where they're at. But I'm going to put our 3D cursor over here on this side. Is it cursor to selected? So I'm going to grab, go back to our front view, select this, and cursor to selected. Huh. For some reason it's not going. Oh, because it's got all this crap down here. Okay, sorry, I get frustrated sometimes so easily. Okay. Where are we going here? Just select one. Shift S. Cursor to selected. There we go. That's where it needs to go. Alright, now, select this center line here, and we're still scaling along that 3D cursor, and we just want to scale it on the x-axis. So just gradually increase the fall off there. Okay, and then just kind of do this manually a little bit. Let's turn off our proportional editing so we don't have to worry about that. Just grab these all over here. Just drag this like so. So we tab out again, go back to our shape keys, and back and forth. So if the lids are up, you can look back and forth. However, we're getting a little bit of messiness here because it's stretching those vertices there. So if I Alt-H. So it will help if we go back to our basis, add in a few more loops across here, like so. So now you can see it actually doesn't go through the eye. Okay, so that's looking okay. Imagine his eyeballs or his eye lenses or his irises are over here. So he's looking there, and then we need to go to the other direction. Now I've tried this. If we clear everything out, I've tried copying, we'll say a new shape from mix, and that'll create a new shape from everything that has any percentage at all, and at this point it's only lids L that has anything. So it just copied that. Let's name it lids R, and I want to mirror it. So we'll say that, and then clear everything out, and hopefully, okay, I was playing with this yesterday, or the day before, and I couldn't get that to mirror properly, so I just had to do it twice, opposite directions, but that should work. So we're going left and right. Okay, so a couple more things we can do. Let's go ahead and add one more, and we'll call this one lids. Let's call this one lid L angry. Okay, tab in here, and let's select just two of these middle areas here. Alt O to get that back on, and just drag that up. Maybe this as well. Drag that up to where there's a kind of an arch in this eyelid here. So he's like, lids are up, and he's angry on the left side. So we get a little bit of an arc there. Get that even a little higher up. So maybe about like so, maybe. Okay, so then he can, what? You know, show his disdain. Alright, so let's do the same thing we did for the lids.r. So let's run that all the way up to lid langry. It looks like what it says. New shape for mix. There we go. Name this one lid R angry, lid rangry, and then mirror it. Mirror. There we go. And then we can say he's angry on both sides now. So good to go. Maybe he's just on the one, or he's curious, you know, something. He's got one brow cocked, and then he's looking over to the right, like, what's going on over there? I don't know. So anyways, we'll clear those out. Okay, so now that's pretty well all set with the modeling aspect, except for the teeth. Let's go ahead and do the teeth real quick. So we'll tab in here, and let's turn off our mirror for now so we can kind of see inside the mouth a little better. So the teeth need to be roughly along this loop, around in the bottom there, and then around this loop here. But I don't want to add a loop there because it would add a loop to the tongue as well. We don't want that. So I'm just going to select, say, these here, these faces there, and let's go to our Control 3 or opposite side view. Shift D, duplicate those around, maybe rotate them. Let's go Control, comma, so we're back around our selection. Extrude those down, and let's get rid of this face here. Don't need that. And let's go to our front view and make sure that this edge is going to line up in the middle, like so. And then we'll add in, looks like, let's make them a little skinnier. They don't need to be that thick. Make sure you get the right ones, the right vertices. Let's move those down. Maybe Control L. Select one, Control L. There we go. Back to our side view. Let's rotate that to where they're actually going to be. It's kind of a weird angle that his face is at here. Let's go to our side view here so I can actually see the lips. And let's deselect the top row of vertices on those. Oops. There we go. And let's drag those down until they're kind of facing. Alto, turn that proportional editing off. Sometimes it's a pain in the neck. Doesn't always do the way you want it to. Okay, tell you what, let's open his mouth with a shape key. Don't want to do it in normal mode because we want this to be the actual, the good to go final look. So this is just going to be for testing purposes, and we'll have to get rid of them after or before we can add in the shape, apply the mirror modifier anyways. So let's turn proportional editing back on, and let's just open his mouth up here so we can see the teeth and how they're going to look with his mouth open. Okay, so now we can say mouth open. Okay, so now you can see the teeth as they are a little bit better. And since they're a separate piece, we can go ahead and work on them with the mouth open. And then we can just do what's called a shape propagate. And what that will do is just, if we have all of these vertices selected that we want to stay put, it will delete any shape keys from those particular vertices. So it helps for such things. On things that aren't going to be moving, it helps keep them in place. If I can select the right ones, there we go. So it looks like these need to, this whole thing probably needs to come up a little bit. Maybe about like so. I'll tell you what we can do, another thing, just like we did on the housing for the eyes, we don't need the bottom of that, and we don't need the tops of the teeth, so that it doesn't have to be a filled in geometry there. So we can go ahead and delete that, and that'll straighten up the top edge as well. Then we can add in a loop along the bottom edge, so it's a nice flat surface there. So we select all these here, kind of just get this moved around until it's about the shape we actually want it. It's very odd working in this this area. It's hard to tell which direction's which. I guess one easy thing we could do, just move them out of the mouth altogether. Get them looking the way we want, and we can move them back in. So get it nice and rounded, like we want it. Okay, so almost there. Okay, that'll probably be okay. So we'll go to our side view, and let's just duplicate this for the bottom, and we'll do the Y negative one, so scaling it 100% negative on the Y-axis, and then we'll have to Control N, flip the normals, and we'll just rotate this so it's going up to the bottom. This will be his bottom teeth, so it'll be about like that. And I guess that'll be fine. Let's go ahead and just move those back into the mouth. area there, like so. And this key is basically just for opening his lips, so let's go back to the basis there. Actually, go back to key 1 and we'll do the shape propagate. Hit spacebar and just say shape propagate. There we go. And it makes that the basis for that particular spot. So looks like that will probably work. Okay, so let's go ahead and get rid of that key 1. Tab back out of edit mode. Get rid of that. And then we'll go ahead and get rid of that. And there's no more shape keys on there anymore. So now we turn on the mirror again. Go to our wireframe view. And one thing you can do with the subsurf right now, it's showing all those new polygons that the subsurf is creating. But we don't want that. We want to be able to see the original mesh data. So just turn on optimal display, and it goes back to the original mesh thing there. Okay. So now what we need to do is fix our teeth here, where they're going through there. There we go. It looks like. Let's just select the whole edges, the whole loops on each edge. There we go. And we can move those in. Boom. There we go. Now they're all lined up. Nice and pretty. Okay. So, yeah, there we go. That's going to be it for part 2, I believe. We got the basic submarine going. And let's go and open his eyelids just a little bit, just to give him some personality here in our preview. And maybe set our viewport right now. It's set to 35 degrees, or 35 millimeters. Let's set that to 60. Make it a little more realistic. Okay, so one thing you will all be happy to know, everyone's always nagging me about it, so I was like, okay, we'll finally do it. Let's go to Cycles Render. We're going to be messing with it. All the materials are going to be in Cycles this time. Okay, so let's do a nice rendered preview. Almost looks like he's underwater already. Let's turn on our ambient occlusion. Set it way down, about 0.2 is fine. And then let's select our lamp here. We can do that over here in our outliner. Lamp. Let's turn that into a sun. Go ahead and set use the nodes. Now the strength is set to 1. See what happens when we make that 2. It's a little brighter. Maybe 3. 3 might be too much, but it looks okay. So let's move that back to solid view, and let's move our lamp over here. About like so. Then we'll look through our camera and maybe move the camera around. One thing you can do to modify or to rotate your camera around the scene on the fly, rather than just having to click and drag it and click and drag it, you can say lock camera to view right there, and then anything you rotate around in the scene, it's automatically moving the camera with it. So that can be handy. Okay, so now let's see what this looks like in rendered view. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. So imagine this with the eyelids and everything on there already. So it's looking pretty good. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so that's it for part 2. And part 3 we'll get in and start actually adding the textures and probably maybe even get the eye area working there on the windshield there, so you can see how to do that. So thanks for watching part 2. We'll see you in part 3.